At 8,849 meters above sea level, Mount Everest stands as the highest point on Earth. It is a place where weather systems collide, where oxygen thins to a third of what it is at sea level, and where the human body begins to die simply by being there. Every year, hundreds of climbers attempt its summit. Many succeed, some do not return. But there is one who never left. Somewhere near the northeast ridge of Everest, tucked inside a shallow limestone cave just below the summit pyramid, lies a body that has been there for nearly 3 decades. Climbers call the place Green Boots Cave. The name comes from the neon green mountaineering boots still on the feet of the man who died there. He has become a landmark, a waypoint on the most dangerous path to the highest point on Earth. His real name is believed to be Tsewang Paljor. Paljor was a member of the Indo-Tibetan Border Police, a paramilitary force stationed in the Himalayan highlands of northern India. He was young, only 28 years old, deeply experienced in high-altitude terrain and driven by a singular ambition to stand on the summit of Everest. The mountain was not unfamiliar to him. He had trained in the high passes of Ladakh, breathing thin air from childhood. He was regarded by his colleagues as one of the most capable climbers on the team. In May of 1996, Paljor joined the ITBP expedition to Everest's north face. The team approached via the Tibetan Plateau, the classical northern route, the same route pioneered by the early British expeditions of the 1920s. The northeast ridge rises steeply from Camp 6 toward the summit, passing through a series of technical rock steps and exposed ridgelines where a single misstep means a fall of thousands of meters. The expedition began with optimism. The team established their high camps in sequence, pushing upward as acclimatization allowed. Conditions in the early days of May appeared favorable, and so on May 10, 1996, a date that would become notorious in mountaineering history, multiple teams across Everest slopes made simultaneous pushes for the summit. That day, a catastrophic storm rolled in from the south. Within hours, the mountain became a killing ground. 8 climbers died on the south side alone, an event immortalized in John Krakauer's book, Into Thin Air. But on the north side, above 8,500 meters, 3 members of the ITBP team, including Tsewang Paljor, were also fighting for their lives. Radio contact with the high-altitude team became sporadic, then silent. To understand what happened next, you must understand the death zone. Above 8,000 meters, the human body cannot acclimatize. It can only deteriorate. The air pressure drops so low that even with supplemental oxygen, your blood oxygen saturation falls to levels that would trigger emergency resuscitation at sea level. The brain begins to misfire. Judgment collapses. Hallucinations are common. Muscles waste within hours. Frostbite begins in minutes on exposed skin. At these altitudes, your body is in a state of continuous accelerating failure. Climbers in the death zone speak of profound confusion, of seeing things that are not there, of losing the ability to perceive danger. Some sit down to rest and never stand again. Others walk calmly off edges. The zone does not kill with violence. It kills with numbness, with stillness, with a silence that creeps in and takes everything. It was in this environment that Tsewang Paljor made his final hours. Accounts suggest that Paljor and 2 teammates had reached near the summit area despite deteriorating conditions. What exactly happened after that is unclear. The storm, the altitude, and the darkness conspired to make their final movements unknowable. What is known is that his 2 companions, Tsewang Ngesmanla and Dorje Morup, were also lost that night. None of the 3 were ever seen alive again. Paljor was found, or rather he was discovered, in the shallow cave on the northeast ridge. He appeared to have sought shelter as the storm closed in. He was seated, likely unconscious from hypoxia, and he never woke up. The cold preserved him exactly as he was in his final moments. His fluorescent green boots, the bright high-visibility mountaineering boots standard to ITBP issue, remained on his feet intact, the only splash of color in an otherwise gray and white world. Why was he never brought down? The answer is one that haunts Everest's history and one that every climber who has stood above 8,000 meters understands with uncomfortable clarity. At those altitudes, moving a body is nearly impossible. It requires multiple climbers, rigging, extraordinary physical effort, all of which burns through the oxygen and energy that keeps the living alive. To carry a body down Everest is, in many documented cases, to risk dying yourself. The cost of official recovery missions is staggering. In 2012, a team was organized specifically to retrieve bodies from the Northeast Ridge. The logistics alone ran into hundreds of thousands of dollars, requiring specialized teams, weather windows, additional oxygen caches, and political coordination with Chinese and Nepali authorities. Even then, many efforts fail. Paljor's family in Ladakh reportedly never received official confirmation of his identity as Green Boots for years. The Indian government was slow to acknowledge the loss, and the body's identity remained for a long time a matter of speculation. His mother is said to have continued to hope, even after the expedition reports came back, that somehow her son had survived. He had not, and so he remained. By the early 2000s, Tsewang Paljor had become something no one ever intended him to be. He had become a landmark, a fixed point of navigation on the Northeast Ridge route. Experienced Sherpa guides would brief new clients on the approach. You will pass Green Boots Cave. When you see the green boots, you are close to the final push. Adjust your oxygen, rest if you must, move on. The language of mountaineering is functional by necessity. At altitude, you cannot afford sentimentality, but the numbness with which climbers describe passing him, stopping, crouching in the same shallow cave to shelter from the wind, looking at the boots a foot from their own, that numbness cracks when they descend and reflect on what they saw. Climbers have written about the experience in journals, in books, in interviews. Many describe a strange intimacy with the man in the cave. Some say they spoke to him, some say they apologized. One climber described looking at the boots and feeling a wave of recognition, that this was not a landmark, this was a person, and that person was 28 years old when he sat down in that cave and did not get up. In 2014, reports emerged that the body had been moved or concealed by Chinese authorities, reportedly buried under rocks to reduce the psychological impact on climbers along the northern route. Whether this is true, and whether it was done with the family's knowledge, remains unclear. Climbers who have passed the cave in recent years give varying accounts. Some say the boots are still visible, others say the cave is different now, but the name remains: Green Boots Cave. On every expedition map of the Northeast Ridge, the notation exists. Even if the body is no longer exactly as it was, the place is permanently marked by the man who died there. He is not alone. As of today, Everest holds the remains of over 200 people. Many are in the death zone, where recovery is impossible. Some are visible from the standard climbing routes. David Sharp, who died in 2006 near Green Boots Cave, became the center of an international controversy when dozens of climbers reportedly passed him while he was still alive, unable or unwilling to attempt a rescue at altitude. His death reignited debates about the ethics of high-altitude climbing, about when the mountain becomes an excuse and when survival instinct crosses into abandonment. The mountain demands a kind of moral calculus that most of us will never face. Save him and risk yourself, or keep moving. Every year, the death toll on Everest grows. The commercialization of the summit has brought thousands of climbers to its slopes who decades ago would never have attempted it. Traffic jams near the Hillary Step on the southern route, long queues at high camps, inexperienced climbers pushed upward by financial investment, by ego, by the terrifying momentum of having come so far. The mountain does not discriminate between the skilled and the reckless, and for every climber who does not return, there is a family at a lower altitude who waits and hopes and eventually stops hoping. Tsewang Paljor was a son, a brother, a professional soldier who loved mountains. He was 28 years old and his entire life was ahead of him. He died in a shallow cave on the northeast ridge of the highest mountain on Earth, seeking shelter from a storm that would not stop. He did not choose to become a landmark. He did not choose to become a waypoint in expedition briefings, a notation on climbing maps, a philosophical pause for those who pass him. He chose to climb. He chose the summit. The mountain chose everything else. Everest keeps what it takes. The cold preserves it. And every spring, when the next generation of climbers moves up the northeast ridge in their bright modern gear and their pressurized oxygen masks, they pass the cave where he has waited frozen and still, for nearly 30 years. Some of them stop, some of them look, some of them do not. The mountain does not notice either way.